Clown Meta Vision Media Vision podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. And come on in and come on in. This is the podcast experience, and I'm your host, Brian Ovis, aka B to the Izzo. Here's where we start our distractions, man, and feed our focus, where testimonies becomes our motivation, where determination becomes our strength. So let God continue to guide you on your journey to greatness, man. Come on. Come on, yo, for real. I podcast experience, episode 1, part 1, Jalyn Jones. Let's get it.
So we were organizing things, trying to gather as many people as possible, during this time. Meanwhile, I'm fresh out of college. Um, and then what else happened? So I ended up graduating. They ended up bringing us back to campus to walk, probably in October. And so that's when I got to celebrate graduation or whatever like that. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out, those periods of transition. I'm like, you try to figure out what's your next step.
Right.
And I think
right.
that's it, it can be hard for some people because it's like, what is my next step? Like that person may not know what their next step is, but like you got to do something, right? You can't just like be working and going home. Like you got to figure out something, right? And you got to figure out. And I think at that point in my life, I was trying to figure out my purpose. Like, what is my purpose? Like, what does God want me to do next? And so with the social injustices that were happening, I think that is what motivated me to go to school for social work. Meanwhile, I was like running away from, I did not want to be a social worker at all. Like I did not want anything to do with social work at all, which is crazy.
But you did it. You graduated and everything.
Yeah. But
you got your degrees, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the crazy part is like I was not like I didn't want anything to do with social work. I was literally running from it, and it was because one of my professors just put a bad taste in my mouth about the field of social work. But I was talking to one of my professors in sociology because when I moved to sociology, I just had sociologists as professors, and I was telling her everything that I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. I wanted to provide services. Like I wanted to put things in place so people can get up off of their feet. Like I just wanted to provide some type of aid to them. And she was like, that sounds like social work. And I was like, yeah, you're right. That I was literally running away like from my calling, like I knew God called me to be a social worker, but I was literally running away from it.
Yeah.
Like all the signs were there. Like I could see like my passions igniting, especially with everything that was happening. It was Minnesota. I think it was it Minnesota or Missouri? I get the M's confused, but it was this big thing where they were like burning down buildings, like protesting or whatever like that. But
I think it probably was Minnesota.
Yeah. But all these things were happening and I knew like these were just signs, and I think those moments is what caused me to start exploring like graduate programs, and I knew I was going to be a social worker. Just probably the end of that year. So the end of 2020, I knew I was going to pursue my graduate degree in social work. And then after that, I think I took a year off. I did take a year off. And then I ended up going into a social work program 2021, so fall 2021. And I ended up going to Howard
Minnesota
University.
excuse me, I'm sorry. Minnesota, that was that BLM?
BLM?
Was like riots, something going on?
Yes, riots and stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Minneapolis. That was George Floyd.
Oh, yeah, George Floyd. Okay. So I remember all of that, was such a big time.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
you're
off.
good. You're good. That was such a big time for us. We're trying to wear masks. We're trying to keep our people safe. We're debating if we should get the vaccine or not. And then on top of that, y'all, like literally the cherry on top was like the social injustices that we were experiencing. And they seem to have been back to back that year. But anyways, I ended up deciding that I was going to go pursue my graduate degree. And at first I was looking at Clark Atlanta, But I think I was like worried about like being so far from my family or whatever like that. So I did decide to go to Howard University.
So, are you part of like any sorority?
I am.
Divine Nine and all?
I am.
Okay.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Crown Vision Podcast with your host, Brian O. And we're thrilled to have you with us today as we dive deep into the heart of our communities. That's right, here on the Brian O. Crown Vision Podcast, we believe in discussing real life, real things, and everyday experiences that shape our lives and our neighborhoods. Absolutely. Whether it's building friendships, inspiring change, or tackling tough topics, our mission is to bring you honest conversation and practical insights. We explore stories from everyday heroes, discuss ways to connect with one another, and empower you to make a difference right here where you are.
Yeah, this disclaimer. This podcast live thoughts and expressed opinions by the hosts are for entertainment and educational purposes. No one is exposing, revealing, or indicting or telling you anything about themselves. Okay, let's go.
I am. So I am a part of Divine Nine, but I did that during my undergraduate degree. So I crossed at Longwood University, Lambda Delta chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So fast forward, and I'm gonna get here, y'all. I'm sorry, I'm like smooth sailing, but
no, you good. You good.
What happened? So I ended up getting I ended up starting school, moved to DC. Moved to Maryland, DC, whatever like that, in fall 2021, and started my 2 years there. You know, first HBCU experience, and this is crazy.
How was that though?
So I think I transitioned well. I transitioned well, and let me tell you something.
Over the years, Supreme Styles beauty and fashion has become a staple in the Williamsburg community. The go-to place for beauty supplies for all skin tones. A variety of jewelry pieces and wigs for all ethnicities, in-store or online. I'm sure to find a perfect product. Supreme Styles beauty and fashion. Style your way.
Look, I grew up in Williamsburg, y'all. And I think Williamsburg, what you think? Williamsburg 50-50, like 50% black, 50% white, or what you think the ratio is?
I don't know, me. I don't like to guess, so I go Googling.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I don't like to guess. I go search this thing up.
Okay. So I think I would say growing up in Williamsburg, James City County schools, I would say I was 50% of my friends were white, 50% of my friends were black. But I think I found myself being around my white counterparts more. I'm not saying I didn't have black friends or I didn't hang out with black people, but I think I was hanging out with them more, basically. And I don't think that was just intentional. I just think it was just like the climate of Williamsburg, Virginia at the time, what I was involved in, so on and so on. But when my friend, so undergraduate, my friend at the time, she went to Virginia State, and I remember going into their cafeteria. Meanwhile, Virginia State is a HBCU. Shout out to Hale State, but went there, and y'all, why was I so frightened to be around so many black people? Like,
what you mean?
That's crazy.
I would have fell in love with that, right there.
But I was so I don't know, y'all. Like, I was so shook, that I was surrounded by so many black people.
We're about 15.2% of the population.
What's the whole population?
Whites are 68%.
And blacks are 15%. Okay, so that's it. That explains everything, right? So if I'm going to school with 60-something% of white people, right, and only 15% are black people, then that could explain why I probably was around more white people than I was black people, just looking at the numbers, right?
Right.
So anyways, I went to Virginia State's their CAF, and I was so scared. I don't know why I was scared, because it's like, I'm black, they black. Like, why am I scared for? But I don't know if I kind of did feel out of place at the time. And that was undergraduate degree. So that was my
you got to feel nervous. I know when I first went on a college campus, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
I was nervous. I ain't even gonna cap.
Yo,
But I got comfortable real quick.
Yeah, but I mean, I have like my friend was looking at me like crazy, like like she thought she was looking at me crazy, but I remember having so much anxiety, y'all, like so much anxiety going into the cafeteria. Anyway, so fast forward 2021, I ended up going to HBCU. I wanted the HBCU experience. My transition was smooth. I did not feel out of place. I think I longed for like the Black culture. I longed for the Black connection. Like I longed for it, especially with growing in a predominantly like white city such as Williamsburg. And the transition was smooth. And they taught us social work from a Black perspective. So that was kind of the title. That was kind of the heading. Like under Howard University School of Social Work, it was always like the Black perspective. You know what I mean? They taught us from the Black perspective instead of using like things that were like, instead of using concepts that were like embedded with racism, you know what I mean? Or like things that really did not keep Black people in mind, right? So these white systems that were built for white people, they did not use that. So they offered us, you know, a Black perspective, you know what I mean? How we are able to see things from a Black lens, you know, and make it applicable for their Black
But you know,
students.
I think that's important.
Right.
I think that's important.
It is important.
So yeah.
It is important. And what I would say is, so it is important. But I think towards like the end of my education, it was time for us to take an exam, right? So our exam was like 200 questions. So and that's so we can get our license. So I'm a licensed graduate social worker right now. And towards the end of the years, you know, they start trying to help you take your test or whatever like that. And they always said like, hey, when you take the test, make sure you take it and you got to think white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they make these tests so hard, right? That it puts Black people at a disadvantage, right? Because they frame it, they make languages, they make scenarios, they make examples that are white people based.
Like yeah. It's basically we ain't living like that anyway.
Right.
So you got to teach it a different way.
Right. You got to
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. Like, and meanwhile, for 2 years, I was learning from a Black perspective. You know what I mean? I was learning like my mind was being shaped, my mind was being molded into a Black perspective.
So at this point right now, at this point, when you in the HBCU and you feel this way, you see it. Did you feel like you was still nervous, or you really got your foot on the ground?
I was good. I was good.
Yeah.
I was good. Yes.
It just took a minute. That's
it just
all.
took a minute. You know what I mean? But it took a minute. But now that I'm thinking about that experience at Virginia,
Priceless.
Priceless. Yeah. Yes, it was priceless. But now thinking back at my experience, like an undergraduate, like when I was an undergraduate and I had that experience at Virginia State, and I was so like had so much anxiety being around other Black people. And I'm like, what in the world, Jalyn? You know what I mean? Like, what in the world? But all it takes for me, I think in that moment was experience. You know what I mean? I think I needed to see, you know, how Black people are still being we're still oppressed. You know, we're still experiencing racial injustice, right? And so
manipulated.
Right. Yeah. And so with me experiencing that, with me seeing that, I think that gave me the experience that I needed. So I was able to transition to a HBCU smoothly, and because I was able to understand, like, I need to be in environments where
did that make that more important for you once you felt that what you felt? Did that make it more important for you to come into the social? Why you need to reach back to your people? You know what I mean?
Yes. So,
you know,
yes. Yeah. And I think that's...
So you're a beacon. Basically, you're a beacon right now.
Right.
Yeah,
no, exactly. Because not only did they teach us the Black perspective, you know, to make it applicable for us, but it also helps us to help other Black people, you know what I mean? To help our Black population of people that we are going to serve, you know what I mean? Facts. And I think just for us to be relatable to our population, you know what I mean? Like, it's even now, like with working with kids like seeing a Black therapist. People like to see a Black
we tend to open up a little bit more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know for me, if you don't mind me sharing, but for me, I know when I was in juvenile detention, there was a guy named Mr. Hollins. I was in Chesterfield County Juvenile Detention Center.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then he was like, he saw me in the gym. I was playing basketball. He was like, "You pretty good." You know what I mean? So, but he was the first guy to put a Bible in my hand,
Right.
and I felt comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Talking, but that's very important.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so we need you.
Right. So representation matters. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we need people to take up spaces where we're serving people that are going to look just like us. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so I think that's, and I think that's very important, in politics and even as a social worker, just any type of position where we are serving people, there needs to be representation there. You know what I mean?
Okay, real quick. So, as I'm learning these things about you, sitting here, right? You had the event
Jones Restoration.
Jones Restoration,
Yeah.
Jones Restoration,
And it was a stand together event.
Staying Together event. Please give me more of that right there.
Okay. So the social work, I'm gonna fast forward, I'm gonna get there. So I graduated 2023. Did a year up in Maryland, took a year, did a year there, and then God was like, "You're moving back to Williamsburg." And I remember, because I think the end of 2022, or I don't know my dates, but it was a period where God really told me, like, you need to rest, right? And in that period of rest, like, God revealed to me that, hey, like, you're moving back to Williamsburg,
Welcome to another exciting episode of Crown Vision Podcast with your host, Brian O. and O. We're thrilled to have you with us today as we dive deep into the heart of our communities. That's right, here on the Brian O. Crown Vision Podcast, we believe in discussing real life, real things, and everyday experiences that shape our lives and our neighborhoods. Absolutely. Whether it's building friendships, inspiring change, or tackling tough topics, our mission is to bring you honest conversation and practical insights. We explore stories from everyday heroes, discuss ways to connect with one another, and empower you to make a difference right here where you are.
Yeah, this disclaimer. This podcast live thoughts and expressed opinions by the hosts are for entertainment and educational purposes. No one is exposing, revealing, or indicting or telling you anything about themselves.
And at
Yeah.
first I was like, yo, I'm not moving back to Williamsburg. Like, I
Are
was
you
so against it.
crazy?
Yes,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I was
yeah,
so
that's
against
like,
it
yeah.
because it's like, wow, God, you've moved me away. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now you want to move me back, and I
Mhm.
remember talking to my friend, we went out to dinner or whatever like that. And I told her the news and I had so much anxiety, y'all. Like, I was mentioning it like every 10 minutes. You know what I mean? I just
Right.
talked about it because I was leaving my church home that I spent so much time serving, developing relationships, developing spiritually there. I didn't want to leave that. And I was just getting started. I was just building something, you know what I mean? And I was doing it by myself. I didn't have anybody. I mean, I did have family up there, but I was just doing it by myself. With the help of my family living in Williamsburg. But anyways, fast forward to 2024, I ended up moving back here. In 2024, my cousin ended up getting shot and killed. Now,
And that is
my cousin is Cameron Thompson.
Cameron. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep, Cameron Thompson. So,
oh man, sorry to hear that.
yes. And so let me tell y'all
That
this.
was a big thing around here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was huge. And so let me tell y'all, like, hear me out. I really like one thing about, and I don't, if this word sits with you, like, you really gotta, if God gives you instructions, like, you really gotta follow through with them. You know, if God is calling you to do something, go ahead and do it, y'all. Like,
Yeah,
go ahead and do
big
it.
facts.
Yeah, pick up the phone.
Pick up the
Pick
phone.
up the phone for God and answer him, okay?
Yeah.
And answer him and just say yes. That's it. Everything he's asked you to do, just say yes.
Yeah,
Just say yes, God, yes. Lord, yes, Lord. But I
guide
do
my
thank you.
steps, baby.
Right.
Guide my steps, because I know
Please,
the enemy
God.
gonna be on me.
Right. He gonna be on my back, man.
Yeah, he gonna be on my
That's-
back.
that's
Please guide my
crazy.
steps, baby.
Crown Meta Vision Media Vision Podcast.
Like, if he
Facts.
speaks to you, like, you really gotta take it and run with it.
Yeah, you gotta
know?
pick up the phone.
Yeah, you gotta pick up the phone. Like, you
Pick up
better
the
pick
phone.
it up.
I
and you-
said, pick up the phone. He calling you. Pick
You're
up the
right.
phone.
You gotta pick up the phone. You gotta
Yeah.
pick up the phone and you gotta run with it.
Yeah,
and
facts.
so the day it happened, right? And this is crazy. I really want y'all to pay attention to the dates. So July 26th, right? Meanwhile, I was already preparing the beginning of 2024, like, or the springtime. I was already preparing to move, right?
Mm.
July 26th, I'm on my way to get my makeup done. Meanwhile, I did a brunch. I wanted to bring all of my friends that I met in DC and Maryland. I wanted to come together to kind of celebrate my time here in Maryland before I moved back to Williamsburg. I'm on my way to get my makeup done, y'all. And I remember, I don't know what highway it was, but it was near, I think it was like near the MGM up there. And like going towards like maybe Temple Hills, Maryland or whatever. But I'm like on my way to get my makeup. And I get a phone call from my mom. My mom's like, they shot Cameron